Okay, so in front of you is this worksheet, and this is definitely one of those times where I should not see any conversing with neighbors. You guys should be focused on your own work right now. And everybody has their periodic table out, I hope. Okay? So, on your periodic table, okay, you need to do a couple things with me before we move on and actually start playing around with it. So everybody has this in front of them, I hope, right? If you do not have your periodic table out, you're behind. So your periodic table looks something like this. I'm going to have you do a few things to your periodic table. The first thing I want you to do is add some numbers. Now I told you, I know they're important, but for our class, don't even worry about this section for right now. That'll come later. We'll worry about that in chemistry next year. Right now, I want you to focus on these 8 families that I've just identified, okay? And I'm here to tell you, how many of you want to have a job in like the healthcare field someday? Like nursing, doctor, physical therapist, medical billing even. All of these 8 families are important to all of these careers, okay? Because you're going to deal with them in medicines and things. And we're going to all take medicine someday, okay? These are the elements that influence the health of our environment and the quality of our food. All right, so these are important. So if I look at these first 8, and I have to figure out why I gave them these numbers. Does anybody know what those numbers represent? Yes? I'm sorry, what? The amount of electrons in the valence outer shell, okay? What does that mean? It means everything in this first family has how many in its outer shell? 1. How many in this family? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Except for who doesn't have 8? Helium has how many? 2, but it still has a full outer shell. That's why it gets over here. Normally helium would be right here, but the reason it's not is because it has a full outer shell. So helium, you know, my brain wants to put it here, but because it has a full outer shell, we put it over here because it has the same properties as all these other people. So if you look at my family, we've all got the same nose, we've got similar ears. You look at your family, same situation, right? We have things in common. So for these families, they bond in similar ways. So they all have the same valence shell, therefore they're going to bond in similar fashions. Okay? Let's jump back to that table real quick, your homework, the one that I gave you, since you all now have your periodic table in front of you, and you have your families labeled. I want you all to look at carbon on the periodic table. What is carbon's atomic number? 6. Okay? So if carbon's atomic number is 6, how many protons does it have? 6. And protons are positive and they're equal to electrons that are negative, right? So it must have 6. Now, to find out how many it has in the outer shell, you have to think of carbon a little differently. That inside energy level holds how many? 2. 1, 2. How many more does carbon have for the next energy level? What? 4, right? So what is the valence level for carbon? 4. Okay? Here's another question. How many more would carbon like to be happy? 4 more, right? If carbon had 4 more, it would have 8 in its outer shell, and it would be a happy little element. So we know carbon has, you told me, 4 electrons in its outer shell. And you guys told me it wants how many more to be happy? 4. So if I were bonding covalently, carbon can bond how many times now? 4. See, this number of electrons to fill the outer shell is also the number of times it can bond. Oop. Does that make sense? So carbon can bond 4 times. Is anybody lost right now? Okay. I don't want to lose anybody in the room in this whole process. Let's do one more. Chlorine. Somebody tell me chlorines, because I don't have my periodic table in front of me. What? 17. Holy monster molecule. Or atom, sorry. 17. How many protons does it have? 17. How many electrons does it have? 17. Well, now we got to come over here and figure out chlorine's valence level. How many does it hold on the inside? 2, because remember it has 17 total. 2. So now we have 15, right? So how many go on the next level? Oops. So how many are left now? 7. So how many are in the outer shell? 7. What family is it in? What family is chlorine in? 7. Making sense? So the family tells me the valence shell, right? How many more does it want it to be happy? 1 more to get to 8, right? How many times will it bond? 1 time. We good there? Take 5 minutes and do the rest.